So you want to take the next step in your videography career and you want to step into the freelancing world. Freelancing can be pretty scary at times because especially when you first start out, you have no clients. You're not always going to be sure how to exactly get the clients. How do you get the clients to trust you? And how do you actually sustain a successful career as a freelancer? So in this episode today, I'm going to be sharing some personal stories about how I got started as a freelancer and how I was able to go full time with it within 2 years. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find creative partners to work with, and you're going to want to build a network that will allow you to build consistent freelance work. So be sure to watch this episode to the very end because I'm going to be unpacking a lot of value here. Hope you enjoy. So how do you actually get started as a freelancer? There's a variety of different ways on how you can do it, but this is personally how I did it. I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, but this is where I have the most experience, and pretty much anyone who asks me, how do I actually get started as a freelancer or even just get started in a career as a videographer or a filmmaker, this is what I would personally do. So what I personally started doing is I would work on film sets for free as a PA. For those of you who don't know what a PA is, it stands for production assistant. So you're basically kind of like the grunt on the set. You're like the intern. You're the person who basically carries stuff in, helps unload, helps reload, helps carry stuff, and just kind of do like the more mundane tasks of being on a film set. And one of the reasons why this is good to do when you're starting out is a lot of production companies or even solopreneurs, they are naturally going to be a small crew majority of the time. Probably 90% of them are going to be smaller crew, and by smaller crew I would mean something along the lines of like less than 5 people working on the crew, maybe even like 2 to 3. So a lot of production companies, because of this, a lot of production companies, they need the extra hands on set, and working for free is a pretty low risk way for them to try someone new to be a part of their team. And when you do this, and you build a relationship with somebody who is a producer, someone who is bringing in the work, you are likely going to be on a variety of different shoots, of a variety of different niches. A lot of people will be doing music videos, commercials, short films, events, pretty much whatever comes their way. So you're always going to be getting a lot of experience on working on all of these different types of projects. And from that, you're going to learn pretty much how everything works, how everything flows, the politics of everything, and basically just how like set etiquette works. So how do you actually build that sort of relationship, and how do you actually get someone to see your value? So you could really just Google production companies that are within your area, or maybe you can find Instagram pages of people, maybe even LinkedIn's, just reaching out to people and offering that free work. And then whoever ends up trusting you to actually come on, just really bring your A game. And how you can actually do that is just offering to help in whatever sort of way that they need help with. There's always going to be something that needs to be done within a production company. That could be offering to pick stuff up for them. A lot of production companies will rent stuff, offering to shoot behind the scenes. Everyone loves having behind the scenes of them working. So it's not always practical to pay someone to go and do that. So even just offering to do that for free and just getting that experience and then providing some of that extra value, that will help them with really seeing it. And then even just offering to help them with things off of set. That could be a variety of different things. I don't know, dropping off a hard drive, picking up rentals. Not all of it's really coming to mind right now, but that's basically how I essentially got started and how I was able to build trust with a variety of different people and just being hungry for it, just asking them like, hey, anything you need, just bring me on. I want the experience. I want to learn. I would love to be a DP one day. I'm not there. I don't have the skills for that. So I just want to absorb everything. And even if you're not directly working in your own position that you want to be in, just seeing the dynamics of how everything works is going to help you get there a lot faster. And one of the biggest takeaways that you're going to get from this is you're going to learn how to run things properly, and you're going to see how things look when they're not run properly. Pretty much everyone that you work with is going to be a little bit different. Everyone has somewhat their own way of doing things. And if you were to learn all of those different ways that people do it, you can kind of learn on your own what you feel works and what you feel doesn't work. I was definitely on a lot of sets like that when I was getting started. I was working with someone who they knew how to run things. And then I worked with someone who really did not know how to run things. And it would always be a stressful environment, but I would always learn. And one of the biggest things that I learned from that was just how not to do things, which is oftentimes can be a lot more valuable than being taught how to do everything properly and seeing everything go smooth. Without being too pushy about it, you also want to tell people like, hey, my goal is I want to shoot. So even if it's just you manning a tripod camera that doesn't move, like just give me that experience. Like set up the settings for me, tell me why the settings are the way they are, tell me why the camera is set up the way it is. Just I want to learn the whole thought process that goes behind it. And then you're going to start learning more on the camera, and you'll be taught by somebody who knows how to use it. And then that will be like your entryway into eventually them letting shoot things for you as you get better and more experienced with it. And then once you learn how the shoot works, how working with these particular people go, then they'll be a lot more hands-off with you and trust you to go do the work. And oftentimes they'll go send you to go do the work on their behalf. So that will be an opportunity to really be able to apply everything that you learned when they are sending you off to and trusting you with their client to handle everything on their behalf. And then that's where you can kind of be able to get that experience without actually having to find the actual client. And then from there, you can actually take that experience and then go find clients on your own, and then apply all the things that you learned and then apply it to how you run those shoots. And then I think it's worth noting that when you are being sent to other people's shoots, you don't try to steal their clients. Don't try to promote yourself to their clients. Like, they're trusting you to take care of the job for them. You're technically a freelancer under them. You want to represent them. And it's going to burn a lot of bridges if you were to try to book the client on something of your own behind the production company's back. So really just utilize this as a way to get practice with working with clients that are not necessarily yours. Learn how things work. Learn how to apply all the things that you learned when you were being the production assistant or camera assistant, whatever you ended up doing. And then just really absorb that, and then take that knowledge that you have and then try to venture out and find other clients. Because the reality is, production companies, producers, they're not going to give you full-time employment most of the time. So you're going to want to find either other producers where you can do the same thing, replicate that process, or you could take that knowledge and try to find other clients on your own so that you can really apply everything that you learned. And then you'll learn even more stuff from being able to do things when you're the person in charge, and then being able to absorb all of that information and knowledge from somebody else. It's going to speed you up a lot. You're going to learn really, really fast, and you're going to learn a lot faster than, say, for example, school is going to teach you. One story that I have where these things really worked for me, before I started running my company full time, I was working with 3 different producers. They were producers that they all had their own companies, and they all had consistent freelance work, and they were always the types where they would go send me to do it, or at the very least be like the DP or kind of like the A cam on it while they directed. So this can lead you to a variety of different opportunities. Like I was able to work on feature films because of doing this. I was able to work with really well-known like public figures and influencers based off of doing this. And I was able to travel the world based off of doing this. Well, maybe not exactly the world, but I was able to travel internationally and domestically from doing that. And that all came from just doing some sort of free work. The first person I met, I literally just I went to go help them set up a booth at a convention. It had nothing to do with video work, but I was able to build up that sort of relationship from doing something even just non-video, like a non-video related favor. The second person I did, or the second person that I was working with, is actually a friend of mine from high school it was someone that he was working for, and then they needed a DP to help them shoot something. I wasn't that experienced as a DP, but I was good enough. And from that, I was able to build that relationship with him and get brought on to a variety of different projects that helped me grow as a DP. And then another example is kind of similar. I went on a film set. I was actually just a PA. I was a PA. And then funny thing is that I wasn't even there for most of the shoot. Like I was helping out a friend, and then a paid gig came up, and I said, hey, I gotta go do this paid gig, but I'll come and help you out after and do whatever I can. They were fine with it. And then I went to that shoot. I did whatever they need me to do, setting up lights, cleaning stuff up, wafting haze. And then the director, he ended up referring me to the DP because the DP was looking for someone to be a PA for him. And then I was referred. So I went to go do that shoot. I helped him out. And then he kind of continuously started bringing me on to gigs. And then eventually we had some downtime on one of the projects that we were on. And he was like, what is it that you want to do? Like, I'm sure you don't want to be PAing like your whole life. I'm like, oh, I'm actually a DP. Like, that's the main thing that I want to be doing. He's like, oh, show me your work. So I showed him my portfolio at the time, and he thought it was pretty good. And then what ended up happening was he would actually go send me to go do some of his small jobs that he didn't want to do. And then those shoots would end up going well. And then he eventually built up the trust to where he would send me to even on his bigger jobs that he wasn't able to go on. And then from there, I worked on like a podcast. I worked on Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast. I was able to shoot on that, and that was a really cool experience because I got to meet all of these different celebrities that were on the show. He actually flew me like internationally. I went to Canada through him. That was my first time going to Canada, and I also went to this country called Myanmar. Most people don't know where that's at. It's right next to Thailand. But just being able to, the whole moral of the story was just starting off on these free shoots, kind of just networking and telling people that this is what I want to do. Not being that type of person that's just like, I'm a PA, but I want to be a DP or I want to be a director. Like that's what I actually do. Like not exactly being like that. It's just more like, oh yeah, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. Like I come on to sets to basically meet people and to basically just try to find other people to work with. And then, just kind of being with the right people to where they saw what I was able to give for them. And then they saw that I can follow through. They saw that I can problem solve and like treat their clients as if they were actually there, like working under them on their behalf. And then for many years, 5, 6 maybe, I was able to really just primarily rely on that for income. COVID kind of screwed it all up. So that's not necessarily something that I don't necessarily work with them anymore, mainly because they went to go on and do different things. So there are going to be times where you kind of have to learn how to readapt to new situations. But for a few years, that was a pretty solid like clientele for me in terms of freelancing. Another thing that I think is really important when you are on this freelancing journey is, along with going on all these different sets, you want to be doing like collab projects with people as well. This can be whatever you kind of choose to do, whether if you're into shooting music videos, maybe you're into shooting like narrative short films, maybe you're into filming like dancers or something, or on a previous episode, I talked about how I was filming skateboarding. So I was really into filming like action sports. Just collabing with people and creating content, it's going to kind of open up more doors to where you're not exactly introduced to more video people, but you're introduced to more like creative people. And then while you're on those different projects or sets, you'll meet a mixture of different people within like the creative space that will probably pass you on and help you find other clientele. And then also you'll meet other freelancers who, if you build relationships with them, they could also be part of your team. They could be part of your crew as your projects progressively start to get bigger. So that's how I'm able to do a lot of the projects that I do, is because I have a team of people that I reach out to whenever the projects need it. From doing all those different types of projects, like I'm able to execute on things that are a lot bigger than I can personally do myself. So, and then also they'll refer you to other clients as well. Maybe if they don't want to work with the client, or they don't have time for them, or maybe they bring you on to help them work on their client projects. Those different things are all going to open up doors for you to build up a freelancing clientele and try to make it as consistent as possible. And since you're there for yourself and not on behalf of a production company, I'm going back to like the collab stuff, then it's like you'll be able to promote yourself as much as you want there. And you'll be able to build up on your clientele from there. It's just this constant grind of where you're working on these projects, whether it's cheap or good, well paying. Like, I don't think it necessarily matters. Something that a successful music video director told me when I was first starting out, and when I was first a little bit more in this stage, he was saying, just say yes to everything. Don't worry about what the budget is or what exactly you're doing. You're just at this stage right now to where saying yes to everything is going to benefit you, and you need to expand that network as far as possible. And then eventually you're going to get good to the point where you start turning down stuff and you don't necessarily need to follow that rule anymore. That was 100% true. I followed that and said yes to as many opportunities as I could. And from that, I was able to build like a successful freelancing career from that. I was getting people very frequent. I was able to reliably make a few $1,000s a month, basically just freelancing, which it takes a lot of work. It's a big grind. Sometimes you have no idea if what you're doing is going to be the right thing to do, but honestly, that's really just part of the journey. It's just, you just have to constantly be valuable to people, put yourself out there, and just work hard and be reliable. And you can eventually, if you repeat the things that I was talking about throughout this episode, you would probably have to give it a few years, maybe even less than a year. It depends on the person. But if you were to put in the time essentially to to do that work, to meet those people, just be a good person and be a hardworking person, you can eventually, as much as you put into it is what you're going to get out of it in terms of building the freelancing career. And I feel that it is going to come, and sometimes it'll come a lot faster than you think it will. So that is the episode for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got a lot of value from this. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to subscribe to see future episodes, and you can follow me on social media. I'm Scott Takai on all platforms, and thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys later.